We are live.
Welcome to the True Sky Crew podcast, where we share our cosmic pearls of wisdom. Why True Sky Astrology? Because when we align with the true sky, we align with our true self. We are your hosts, Sachi, Janine, and Georgia. Thank you all for joining us live or in the replay. This is episode 10, and today we are going to discuss all things Cancer. We will also be giving information about our 2024 True Sky calendar and 2024 True Sky daily planner, and giving some updates on the Instagram group chat and an exclusive discount code that we are offering for our new products, and answer a listener question. And of course, you are welcome to send us questions in the live chat. We will be watching and we're happy to answer those as well.
All right. Thank you, Sachi.
Yes. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome. How's everyone doing tonight?
Woo! That new moon in Ophiuchus, Scorpius area was intense. I'm definitely still feeling everything integrating. But it's good. It feels really good. The timeline shift of the 12/12 portal was, top notch.
I feel like this Ophiuchus Scorpius season has been extremely top notch, and I would have to agree completely. Like, so powerful, these upgrades coming through, and definitely still integrating them.
What about you, Janine?
You guys carry on. I'm working on some chart stuff.
Okay.
Well,
we can
our list.
Yep, we can. We have our list. Let's check it twice. Let's talk about our 2024 calendar and daily planner. So we are happy to announce the first of its kind, I believe, a 2024 True Sky calendar. So we have been working super hard for you guys to give you the information that you want and that you need. So we have just dropped, right before we went live, we dropped our 2024 calendar, which you can purchase as a wall calendar. And you can also purchase it as a PDF calendar if you want to print it yourself or use it digitally. We do ask, if you purchase any of our PDF products, that you not share them with anyone and that you use any digital pieces of information only for yourself. So thank you in advance for respecting us and our work. And we also have a 2024 daily planner for all the astrology and astrological nerds out there that want even more detailed information. And so these are all live. They can be purchased in my shop at sachitheseer.com. We will walk you through this process real quick. So you can go to sachitheseer.com and then you just go to book now/shop. And when you go here, we have the wall calendar for sale. So you can click on it. There is an example of January on there. It is available for $44.44. We have beautiful pictures, some astronomical info that will be useful for you for the month, and then also an area for your notes. And then for each month on a daily basis, we show you where the moon is. So moon phases are on a daily basis. It also includes the void spaces and the blend spaces. So if the moon is in a space between the Cancer and Leo void, that is what the calendar is going to tell you. So it has very precise information. It also shows when it's in a blend of sign energy. For example, when it's in a blend of Capricornus and Aquarius energy. Additionally, we show where all the planets are going from one sign to the void and then from the void to the next sign. So you get an overarching view of all that information of what's happening in the celestial weather. We also have information on when retrogrades are happening, when things station direct. We have other astronomical information included, like meteor showers, when the new moon and full moon is, etc. So lots of really amazing information here. It is a wall calendar, so again, it's a more overarching view of what is going on. And then we have the same thing as a PDF version that you can download and use on your computer or your phone. And then we have our daily planner available for $77.77. This is much more detailed. So every single day has its own page. So it will have, the date. We have a true sidereal calculator, but of course we are going to write the true sky transits because, as you know, true sidereal calculators do not always reflect what is happening in the real sky. So we're going to give you both pieces of information. This, just helps you get a general view of where all the planets are, the aspects that are happening. We have some detailed information on what the lunar cycle is at that moment. And then we have information on the retrograde planets, sign changes of any planets, when Venus moves from one sign, or any planet moves from one sign to the next. If there's any sort of conjunction. So for example, when you're having like a Saturn Sun conjunction, and then fixed star alignments as well. And then of course, an area for your notes. Additionally, for every new moon and full moon that happens every month, well, not every month, for the 13 new moons and 13 full moons of the month, or of the year, excuse me, there will be additional pages per new moon and full moon that we will include how to work with the energy of the moon, whether it's a certain ritual or certain questions that you should be musing on in order to use that moon cycle to your advantage, as well as some flower essence remedies that you can utilize during that lunar cycle. So this is definitely a lot more detailed. We are taking pre-orders for all 3 of the items. The PDF version will be sent to you via email pretty shortly. We are just finalizing the last couple things, but everything has been completed. The wall calendars are expected to ship in December, so you will get them within the next. So we're taking pre-orders until next Friday. So next Friday, they are going to be ordered and shipped. And then the daily planner, we are still working on. So by the end of December, you will receive months January through March via email, and it will be the email that you utilize when you purchase these. And then in March or earlier, we are going to send you April through December. So all this stuff is so much work. We're really pumping out as much as we can for you guys. And we are working diligently to complete it. But for 2025, we will have it available as one, giant planner. But for now, it will be in 2 pieces. But if you purchase it now at $77.77, it is for the entire year. You will just get it in 2 pieces. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's super funny that for our Cancer episode, we're announcing that we're
I
birthing
know.
our calendar.
I know, yeah. Our first collective item that we've created. And as we mentioned, there is an exclusive discount code. So we have a 5% off discount code if you are part of the Instagram group chat, which we announced last episode. So for the Instagram group chat, you can become part of the group chat by messaging us at the True Sky Crew on Instagram. That is the only way that you can enter the group chat, is by messaging us directly, and we will add you to the chat. Once you're there, the discount code is there. You can use it all, anytime you'd like. The coupon code is good between now and the end of the pre-sale, which is next Friday.
Yay. And I just
Yay.
want to emphasize, do not DM us personally. DM the True Sky Crew.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is the protocol for everyone to get into the True Sky Crew group chat. So once you become a member, please do not invite other members yourself. That goes against the protocol of the group chat. You know, we pretty much just have one rule: be respectful, you know, be nice, try to keep it to astrology as much as possible. But do not invite people yourself. They have
Yeah.
to go through the official True Sky Crew channel.
They have to be vetted. We want to keep it a safe place. So,
Mhm.
you know, we just don't want people wandering on through, don't know who they are, don't know if they
Mhm.
follow us, that kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yep.
So just keeping the group nice and safe.
Yep.
I'm so excited for this planner. I mean, I know the three of us have been like, it's like working a second job this week, working
Yeah.
on this calendar,
Mhm.
but it's amazing.
It's so rewarding. And the information in it is just so rich. And it's just so
Yeah.
good. It just feels like 2024 astrologically is going to be more of a breeze than any year before, just because we have all the information already.
Yeah.
It's
Right
like,
at our
you know,
fingertips. Mhm.
yeah, instead of, you know, Janine making our notes for the episode,
It'll
we'll
already be
just
done.
have our calendar and everybody will have their calendar, including all the listeners, and we can just go through it,
Yep.
you know, and
And it's got more than we have dug up in each month till
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Like it's got meteor showers. Of course, it's got solstices, equinoxes, you know, full moons, new moons, eclipses, but there's other layers of things. Like looked up all the Bahamian fixed stars. They're all in the calendar. So it's gonna be amazing. It already is amazing.
It already is amazing. I love how we are all excited about utilizing it
Our own
because
calendar.
it really, it just makes like, we're like, oh my God, we just made this so easy for ourselves.
Truly.
yeah, we made it easier for everybody in the
For
world.
everybody.
If they want to
Yeah.
access it, like,
Yeah.
So,
And the daily planner is going to be next
Proud
level.
parents.
Like for
Yeah.
anybody, like you said, any like serious astrology nerds, like it's the thing. Like it's detailed. You've got room to write stuff. It's just going to be, that's like the bee's knees.
Yeah.
That one's going to be amazing.
Mhm. And we were considering potentially doing a physical copy of the 2024 planner per quarter. So there would be 4 that you receive. So let us know if that interests you guys. If you prefer the PDF version, then, you know, tell us that. But we're kind of musing on whether we want to have that as an option, just because there's, you know, it's so big.
Yeah.
It's
That would be
365, or I think, yeah, 365 plus
pages.
2
Yeah.
extra pages per month.
That would be a beefy novel.
It
Mhm.
is a beefy novel, but I will say I like working with things like tactilely. I like having
Physical, yeah,
paper in my
Yeah.
hand.
me too. Yeah.
And I like having both. I like being able to check it on my phone if I'm out, and I
Mhm.
want to be able to work with it in paper form at home. So there's options.
Yeah.
Yeah, so send us some feedback or drop a comment in the live chat here on YouTube if you're here. If you think a spiral bound daily planner in quarters would be something you'd be interested in, or would you rather just get it in a bigger chunk and print it out yourself? Because you could just print like at the beginning of the month, you could just print out the pages for that month, and then
Mhm.
you know, so
Mhm. You
just
could
depends on what your
3-hole
preference
punch
is.
it. Yeah, 3-hole punch it, put
Put
it
it
in a binder.
yeah.
Like a
Mhm.
binder, a 1-inch or 1.5-inch binder would very easily hold all those pages.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's what I'm gonna do, just because
That's what, yeah, I think that's
I
what
like
I'm
taking the
too.
pages in and out for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's been a serious labor of love this week.
Yes, definitely. It's like the last part of Virgo, Venus and Virgo. All the labor of
Truly.
love and the service orientation of, you know, being of service in ways that we love, and, you know, topics that we love, and to help people that we love and people who love the same things. It feels really, really good.
Does indeed.
Proud parents.
Mhm.
Proud mamas.
Yes, definitely. 3 women
Yep.
can have a baby through the power of Cancer.
Speaking of Cancer, should we transition to our Cancer True Sky Zodiac info and
Mhm.
just
Yep, let me pull
roll on in?
I'll pull up the infographic. Oh, one more thing about the Instagram group chat before we switch gears here. We are also considering doing some sort of live Q&A with you guys, maybe a half hour or an hour a month in the Instagram group chat. Because a disclaimer about being part of the Instagram group chat. When you ask a question in the group chat, the True Sky crew cannot endorse any answer that you receive as true or even partially true, unless it is coming from the official True Sky crew account or me, Sachi, or Janine, or Georgia, Inner Sky Alchemy, or Star Nectar Astrology. So just know that if you have a question about True Sky Astrology, you are going to want to tag at the True Sky, or you can at any three of us or all three of us and just see who sees it first. Obviously, we don't monitor the group chat 24/7. It's, meant to be a self-sustaining community type thing. But we have seen a bit of misinformation being spread in the group chat. Not a terrible, fact check or whatever. But yeah, just some answers that were just incorrect about True Sky Astrology. So we just wanted to let everyone know, if you have questions, direct them towards us, and remember, we do answer listener questions during the podcast. We also answer listener questions that are DM'd to us on Instagram. We answer questions that are left in the comments of our podcast episodes after they happen. So, if you want to be on YouTube with us, that's the best place to send us those questions. But yeah, just wanted to give that disclaimer and let you guys know we are trying to find a solution to connecting with you guys a bit more and doing Q&A stuff. So just keep a lookout for an announcement on that.
Yeah, I think the once a month chit chat session, I think, would be fun for sure. Everybody can get their questions like just out in the open.
I agree. That would be fun.
Yeah, I do too.
So, Cancer.
All right.
The mama of the Zodiac.
Which it's very auspicious, as Janine said, that we are releasing our calendar and daily planner to the world on our Cancer episode, because Cancer is the sign that originally had brought the three of us together.
True story.
And yeah, it started with a conversation about how the word has been hijacked, basically, and how we wanted to recode the name of this sign and also reclaim the true essence of this sign, because Cancer definitely gets a bad reputation. Maybe not as bad as like Scorpio or maybe even Gemini, but Cancer definitely gets a reputation.
I think Cancer is misunderstood for sure. And so, yeah, in the beginning, so for me, I personally had a relationship already with the sign of Cancer, and wondering some things about that felt a little off about it. And so when I started my astrology page, I had shifted to this new page. I saw Sachi talking about it too. So I approached her and I was like, hey, what's up? I also have opinions about Cancer, and I'd love to put our heads together about it. So at the same time, she was connecting with Janine, and then I had connected with Janine. And so it just kind of all started coming together.
And that's how this started, was us just like, hey, yeah, Cancer is a disgusting word now, and the corrupted medical industry has bastardized it. And rather than trying to reclaim something that has literally become cancerous, how about we rename it? So that's also on our long-term agenda for the community. And we are open to community input about how we can rename this sign so that everyone knows exactly what we're talking about. But just sort of getting rid of, the word Cancer.
You know, there's a way, like, because I have a Cancer rising. So when I originally found out that it was not Leo, it was like just always saying, oh, I'm a Cancer. It makes my inner being cringe. Like, I'm not a Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
The exact same thing happened to me, and that's how we each kind of got into this discussion. When I would be working with clients and saying, you have multiple Cancer placements, or even describing myself as someone who has a Cancerian moon, I would, tell people like, oh, I have Cancer placements, especially back when I thought I was a Cancer rising as well, before I knew I was Gemini rising. So, just saying that, like, I could feel my body's visceral reaction to saying I have Cancer placements, because as we all know, words are spells, spellings are spells, and it just didn't sound great. And I was even looking at some people I knew that were going through Cancer and seeing where Cancer was in their chart at the time, and seeing the house that is associated, or that Cancer rules over, if people were manifesting Cancer in that area. I did have a couple data points where it was true. Most people, they were Cancer free. But yeah, it's just a terrible correlation. It's a terrible thing to say about yourself, to say you're a Cancer, to say you have any Cancer placement. It's a grotesque way to describe yourself.
It's that neuro-linguistic programming for sure. I mean, the word Cancer etymologically goes back to like canker. So it probably never had a super great connotation. And it's just an overlay over the divine feminine archetype of mother. And when you kind of see the, fuckery down the line, you're like, oh, I see the game. So that's kind of where we're at. We're like, we're just taking a broad view of it and seeing how we can reframe it, and what else can we call. And that's really where we came up with our logo, the clamshell with the pearl, because the feminine is really like the golden pearl in the center with a protective shell around it. So recoding it to the actual pearl energy.
And recoding it to its true placement, because like the mother has her true encryption, her true frequency. And so it's not like I think that sometimes people think that it came up in conversation. Someone said, oh, you guys are making things up. And I said, no, that is exactly not what we're doing. We are taking the false things off and revealing the true thing that's there. So totally that's the point of view that we are going about this with.
Well, I'd love to know who said that.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay. Yeah. My crybaby claw is coming out. Yeah. It's also very interesting that Cancer is the third true zodiac sign. And well, first of all, there's 3 of us. So it's interesting that came about organically. And by third true zodiac sign, we mean that because the sun does not pass through the constellation Aries and is technically not a zodiac sign since it's not on the ecliptic, even though we still use Aries. But it's still the third true zodiac sign by definition. And 3 is the number of abundance and multiplication. It's a Trinity code, which is, father, mother, child.
And the third card, the Empress of the tarot deck. So it actually starts to line that up quite nicely.
Yes, indeed. I feel like as far as the body too, it really rules. Like the stomach is such a yin organ, like receiving. It's the first nourishment we receive from our mother, comes into our stomach from the breast. So breasts and stomach and spleen, as far as acupuncture goes, spleen, pancreas, stomach are all energetically connected. So really in the body, that's kind of where the energy is focused.
Mhm.
Yeah, that yeah, definitely. It's very nourishing. Like Cancerian energy is just the mother's milk, right? The water of the mother, whether it's from the womb space or the amniotic fluid or the placenta, it's just so nourishing. And even the natural nurturing warmth of Cancerian placements, they are just top notch.
Mhm.
And for people who have like mother wounding and things like that, when you meet someone who has high vibrational Cancerian energy, it's like you get the love that you have always deserved from them. It's just a really,
Mhm.
really great feeling.
I do feel that Cancer is also like the fluid of the breast milk,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's very much like it, Cancer is the breast. I feel the magnetic aspect of the heart, where like Leo is the electric aspect of the heart. So also definitely the nourishment of, like you said, the milk of the breast, the milk and honey of the mother.
definitely. And even like the colostrum before it
Definitely the
becomes the milk, just
colostrum.
like the whole just nourishment. And so much of it is for the other. And that's another big thing about Cancerian energy is it can be very self-sacrificing because much of the nourishment that it offers is for another, usually for a
Mm-hmm.
child, um, which, on the low vibrational energy of cancers, or Cancerians, there can be a lot of emotional umbilicals, and people with Cancer placements really need to be mindful of who and what they are mothering, no matter what gender they ascribe to, because Cancerian energy has this natural gift of being able to emotionally connect to someone and nourish them with energetic milk, we'll say, and through an emotional umbilical. And if you don't have energetic boundaries on what you want to or who you want to quote unquote mother, you can be emotionally umbilical to, people who abuse access to you, or just, draining yourself too thin. You could be emotionally umbilical to 50 random people, all your exes or whatever it may be. So yeah, it's very, very important for Cancerians to have very strong energetic and emotional boundaries, because Cancerian energy rules the emotional body. And
Yeah.
of course, that's tied into, the bastardization of Cancer in the medical field. It's like if you have emotional attachments that are unhealthy, that are draining you, or that are stuck emotions in the body, that's when Cancer as a dis-ease starts physically manifesting.
I think that the aspect of Cancer, like, so we're going to get into the rulership, I think, of Cancer to talk about some of these things with Cancer, because I find that when Cancer is viewed through a lunar lens, it becomes more of that emotional carnivore that you're talking about, where it doesn't want to detach, where it hangs on, where it clings, where it can be very manipulative and force everyone else to contend with its unprocessed emotions in the room. But when we get into what I see as the higher and maybe more like true lens of Cancer through the earth and through the sun, then we come into that unfoldment of the mother's love, of unconditional love, of a nourishing that I will say as a Cancer rising, that when you're in a space where it's holy, it's like an endless ocean of love. But when you're in a space that is about trying to control the emotional environment around you, then it becomes manipulative and like the underbelly of the lunar aspect of Cancer.
Yeah, it can get really codependent if they're not centered and balanced. Like you said, Sashi, it can you can have 50 energetic cords running like, I have to take care of everybody. And you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something to watch out for in those placements, like whatever house Cancer is in for you, see how that applies to your energy, how you experience things in that way through that house.
Like something that can be helpful for Cancers, because there could be such a love. Just remember, as a mother, your goal is not to keep your children with you forever. Your goal is to raise a child to allow them to be free and independent. And that can also start to allow you to not feel like you're in charge. Like it's not up to you to help everybody.
Yeah.
And if a Cancer can get into a bigger project where you're pouring that nourishment into something that also feeds you, then you're starting to get into the higher octave Cancer.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
feedback loops.
Exactly.
The awesomeness. Yeah.
Positive feedback loops. And another thing about Cancerian energy, whether it's, you being an actual mother to a child or even just embodiment in general, is the best thing that you can do for someone, whether it's your child or not, is not to consistently take care of them or try to make sure that their life is perfect. It's to take care of yourself, so you are modeling to your child or to the world how to be a healthy individual, how to take care of yourself, how to regulate your own emotions, your own electrical system, how to repair, how to put yourself first, because the child is not going to learn by what you're telling them to do. They learn ultimately by the behavior that you embody.
Yeah, I feel like Cancer, that energy, wherever it is in your chart, you have to kind of watch out for transference, that kind of thing. Because even when you think about having a child, like you were saying, Georgia, is like, it's not to make them a small version of you. And that is a classic transference. People who are like, I'm going to raise my kid to do all the things my mom did with me or my dad did with me. It's like, who did you come here to be? Right. And holding space for that person to be their true self. And that's part of the Cancer lesson, is to be autonomous and be able to nurture somebody in their own autonomy without transferring onto them. So that's that can be a really challenging lesson, because our egos get in the way a lot.
And that again depends on the octave of the Cancer as well, which it's such a wide range, right? It's like the ocean. So, but that's interesting. I was with my own son today, and as a Cancer rising, just kind of in awe of his own beingness and like really watching him become himself. So there's also like the true mother, she loves her creations as who they are, for who they are, So Cancer really does have such a spread. Like the low is really low and the high is really high.
Yeah. And some of the reason for that is the moon is the chart ruler, and therein is the issue.
There's 28 different phases of that biatch.
Not to mention just, metaphysically, energetically, what the moon does is like what the shell does in the symbols that represent Cancer. The moon is like an energetic wall. It moves so fast around the planet. It acts like a wall, a shield. It's this multifaceted, it has many purposes. Protection and also blocking things. Sometimes things coming in, sometimes things going out. It works both ways. So the archetype is a really challenging one to navigate, but I feel like where the collective is at the moment is like we're in a conscious recode and taking back the true mother archetype, moving beyond the lunar matrix.
Yes. And so in moving beyond the lunar matrix, because the moon certainly has its place in our cosmology, and I feel like we could have a whole episode dedicated to talking about just the moon.
Yeah.
the moon is, in as far as I can see, is not a part of our original celestial encryption. And so for me, the moon can't be the ruler of Cancer, but it is certainly the most associated with Cancer. And that is also interesting. In original Persian astrology, which is one of the oldest recorded, the moon rules no sign because it is said that the moon moves too quickly to rule any one sign, but it has an affinity to Cancer because Cancer is like the night sky, like the sun, but like at night. And then Leo is the day sky, the sky of the day. And I thought that was really interesting. It actually made a lot of sense to my body in my understanding of Cancer because even as I switched from a Leo to a Cancer, I still felt the impulse of being a solar feminine. And so that started to kind of open that up for me too. So it's not to say that I don't see the moon as associated with Cancer. It absolutely is. But I don't see it as the original ruler.
As the true, I would agree with
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
Yeah, because we know the moon has not always been here. It is
Yeah.
older than our solar system. So it was, well, that's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have discussed that aspect of the sun being Cancer's ruler. I forgot to write that down on here. Because the moon's light is just a reflection of the sun.
Mhm.
And we had also discussed that Earth can be a co-ruler of Cancer as well, since
Mhm.
it's our mother planet.
I agree. That's the golden pearl.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I see too. It's not the sun and the moon that is the father and the mother, it's the sun and the earth. Because when you look at it, it's the sun who impregnates the earth with its warmth and its light. And in return, the earth offers her flowers, her nourishment. So you can really start to see that that's holds so much more the dynamic of the father and the mother.
Mm-hmm. The moon just acts like a mirror in the matrix. It's like Sashi said, reflected light. It's a dead light luminary. It does not produce its own light. It only reflects the sun.
I think there's a lot of different ways that we could look at the moon that way, but I would say bottom line is that it's not it's about the moon really represents the healing of our emotional distortions.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the thing that we're going to interface with through Cancer, but it's not the real essence of the Holy Mother.
Yeah, it's like Cancer can represent the cosmic egg too. Like the egg is another
Yes.
archetype that I really resonate with, and the moon is like the eggshell. It's something that we break through. That's what moon work is. So it's never to
Right.
glorify moon stuff. Like, I used to be, when I started my journey many years ago, I was like, ooh, put your crystals in the moonlight. And now I'm just like, no, never do that. Because that's not, you don't want to charge with the energy of the moon. You want to move beyond that, right? So use the sun.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
that's
I
just
agree.
one of the things I've learned along the way is the moon is something to work with, to work through,
and not
to embody the
worship.
true feminine. Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not to demonize.
Yeah, no.
And it's not to fear. Because some people, I feel like I saw a real strong wave when people found out what the moon was, of like, oh
yeah.
no, the moon.
Mhm.
It's to really come to neutral with it and to understand that everything has its place in our cosmology as we are designed to experience it now.
Yes.
I agree with that, because what helped me, the sciencey stuff always helps me. When I understood some of the bigger destruction in the solar system, I'm like, oh, the moon it's got multiple functions. It's acting as a barrier for some things to keep us safe inside the shell. It's also acting as a block, and some of us will be ready to work through that and move beyond. Like, to be able to astral travel, you have to have a clear astral body, which is the emotional body. So it's just part of the process. Yeah. And you're right. It's not to be afraid of it, even though there can be some challenging things to work through in the emotional body that can be stuck from past lives and other places. But it's really just to start moving towards it, understanding it. And once you understand it, there's really no fear. And that's where you embody the archetype. It's just compassion. You have the understanding, you have the knowledge of what the thing was, and you go, oh, that's what it is. Oh, well, of course I'm not mad about that. Or, you know, whatever it is, it just transmutes in that moment. And that's the true power of that archetype.
The divine mother.
Yeah. You're just like, come on, who needs a hug, right?
Yep.
Come and
So
get
you
your hug.
you gotta unconditionally love the moon too. That's also part of the test.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I love the egg connected with it because, and this kind of leads us to some of the shifts in the symbology, the symbolism of Cancer. And for me, I really resonate with turtle as one of the top one or two. And the fact that the turtle, and this is something Sachi brought up, oh, it's interesting that it's not a mammal with the milk and everything else. And I was like, because it's the mother of the mother, it's the primordial mother, it's the original golden egg from which all came. So it was kind of interesting how that, I think, crosses over quite nicely. And especially with the turtle having the 28 sections around and the 13 sections within, really representing the moon as well. It's just like such a really beautiful crossover.
Yeah.
The turtle is also considered like a prime mother symbol in many cultures. And, you know, United States was Turtle Island. So we can see that it's held like the strong codes of mother for a really long time. And originally in Babylonian astrology, Cancer was not the symbol used, it was turtle.
I've also some creation myths are that the earth is like a dome on top of the back of a turtle.
Yes.
I forget the name of it, but I know there's a Pokemon based on it called Torterra.
That's the name of her Cancer.
It's like a terrarium. Yeah, we should call it Torterra. Except it's a grass type, which I guess if it's ruled by the earth, that makes a little more sense. But yeah, it's like a terrarium on top of the back of a giant turtle.
And so we also, as Janine was saying, we also were talking about like the golden egg symbol really does cross over with the pearl and the clamshell as well. That was the thing too. I was like, crabs. I'm like, it's Cancer and crabs. And I was like,
no, thank you.
Like, really. And then looking at the crab and just seeing it as this little like scuttling thing that moves side to side. I was like, that's not the divine mother. I love you, crab. You're so cute. I love seeing you at the beach. I collected your claws. I love you. But you're not the symbol of the divine mother.
Yeah, it's ancient, primordial. It's a survivor. Like I get some of the archetypes. The shell, it's protected. It carries its own protection, but it's not a very high octave of the archetype, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So then we say it's the
pod. Of crayfish, lobster, and crab, all of which are consumed frequently.
They're bottom feeders, you know. It's like the references just insects. Go on and on.
Yeah,
I mean, and then we can even look in Egypt using the dung beetle that's rolling around piles of poo. I'm like, geez, it's just getting worse.
I know. Who thought those were good archetypes? I don't know. But you know, shit makes the best fertilizer to grow flowers in.
That
so it's like, again, I get it, but come on.
I get it too.
I guess it's referencing like the raw material and making the raw. I mean, a sphere all by itself is a very divine full circle energy. So I get it, but it's like, really, guys, this archetype is beautiful. Let's use something beautiful instead of a big old pile of poop rolled into a ball.
Yep.
Making the best out of a situation, I guess. You know, that's kind of the way my brain goes. Like, well, I guess that you're making lemonade out of lemons with that archetype, whatever.
And, you know, the divine mother and her amazing compassion, she also, as much as she loves us, loves the little beetle rolling balls of dung.
True story.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they didn't have a lot of water references, like water animal references I don't know. I mean, the Nile was supposedly a thing,
Yeah.
back then. So I don't know what they had to work with. Did they have turtles? I don't know.
I'm sure we
Maybe
had
they
turtles
didn't.
back then, maybe not in Egypt.
Somebody had turtles, maybe not in Egypt.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting choice on the part of the Egyptians. I give them that. I'm like, okay, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah,
we'll be
thanks.
working on that one later.
Yeah.
Well, which is interesting because the dung beetle was associated with the sun as well, and the death and rebirth, which I always thought was associated with Scorpius.
Yeah.
But it is that aspect of, like, they said that the celestial dung beetle had to roll the ball of poo
celestial
up up a hill, or the sun wouldn't rise.
Oh my
Right.
goodness.
So that does have some, it definitely has some significance. Like, I think in its connection with the sun and this little compassionate creature like Cancer is. So I think we talked about its rulership, the breast milk and all that. Its element is water, and it's cardinal water. So often we'll see like, oh, Cancer is a crybaby. Oh, Cancer is just this moody little thing. Like, whatever, Cancer. Cancer is cardinal. So we know that the cardinal signs are actually the initiators and the leaders of the zodiac. And that it's really water. It's really the element of the mother that is going to lead in the changes that are coming, because it's about reconnecting with our emotional body. It's about healing these lunar emanations. It's about coming back home to the mother, ultimately, I feel. So I think that that's another way to deter from the true power of Cancer. Oh, she's just a whiny crybaby. Don't listen to her.
That's the dung beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Right.
like Cancerians, because they are so connected to the moon and the earth and the sun, but the moon specifically, they are so in tune with their emotions naturally. They are not afraid to feel their feelings. They will feel it.
The power of the emotional body is where it's at. Yeah, they understand that.
Exactly. And if
powerful emotional intelligence.
And if you find that people who have crustacean placements are crybabies, that's a reflection of some unprocessed emotional stuff that you haven't done.
Yeah.
Because Cancers will only be crybabies if they're around things that make them cry. So what does that say about the environment that they're in, yourself included?
Yeah.
Not that, you would be the problem or responsible for anyone else's emotions, but being around people with a lot of Cancerian placements will definitely give you an emotional muscle test of what's sort of going on in your own emotional body.
Well,
because
they'll
reflect
feel
it back
you.
to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll feel you
Yeah.
walking in the room and your baggage.
Yeah. And
they have such an emotional depth. And with that, when the emotional range is integrated, they are extremely intuitive.
For sure. Known for
The
their
mother's
psychic
intuition
abilities. Yeah. That it's like a biological thing as well. Just like how, mother and child are always connected. If someone with Cancerian placements has emotionally umbilicaled to you, you can't lie about your feelings to them. They have a lie detector kind of similar to Scorpius, of really being able to feel if you're telling the truth, which can make them cry a lot if you're not telling the truth about how you feel.
So this is really true for me as a Cancer rising. I feel everything, and I can feel what you're not feeling, and I'll tend to sometimes, if I'm not being conscious of it, I'll start to act it out. It'll start to move through my own body, and I'll be like, oh, that's not mine. Hey, I think that you have some unprocessed anger.
That's a really good example of the transference. Like, it's just if you're not transferring onto someone else, what I mean is sometimes you will just be like a sponge, be like, oh, that not mine. Right? Like you said. So that's the other way you have to watch out for it, is like incoming and outgoing.
So Cancer does have that shell, whether we're looking at it as a crab or a lobster or a turtle or a clamshell. So I feel like once Cancer gets a sense of things, and I'll say like from my own experience, once I got a sense of things and I became less of an emotional carnivore, my boundaries became really beautiful. And I felt like my boundaries became like a permeable membrane that was like, this is allowed to come in. This has the enzyme for entrance. This has the enzyme to not allow in. I still feel it and acknowledge it, but you don't come in. So it is encrypted with like a natural protection as well, but you do have to learn how to use it. Otherwise, you end up shielding yourself from your own feelings, act like everything's okay on the outside while you're just in turmoil inside.
Totally. And as the mother of the zodiac, the crustacean, it is the divine feminine polarity. And truly, the divine feminine can only be in its soft essence, like a crayfish, lobster, crab, or turtles, like soft flesh or meat, whatever you want to call it, or create something absolutely beautiful, like a pearl, if it has protection on the outside. And that's usually done by the opposite polarity of the divine masculine. When that safe space is created, the feminine can be soft and can create safely. If not, it's just survival mode and you can't create.
Yeah, that's why we love the clamshell too, is it's like it opens, it closes, it does it when it wants to. Right?
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say. That's okay.
Which I know in the chat someone had mentioned that they don't have any Cancerian placements and things like that, but everybody has crabby energy in their chart. So even if it's an empty house, there's still data in that house. So
That's
even
right.
if you have, for example, an empty 7th house that the Cancerian energy rules over, it still gives you data. It shows about your maternal lineage. It also can determine what home feels like to you. So in my astrological chart hacking, I use Cancerian energy and the 4th house as what feels like home and what should feel like home. What's like the idealistic, how do you reprogram yourself, your emotional body into feeling that home is a safe place? Because of course, in this age of very distorted Cancerian mother feminine energy, feeling like home usually means in chaos and dysfunctional relationships and emotional manipulation and neglect and abandonment and things like that. So a lot of just how we talked about Gemini, so much of it is in the electrical system, the nervous calm system reprogramming. The same can be said about Cancerian energy in the emotional body programming. So you'd want to work
limbic system. The limbic system.
In the Cancerian energy in 4th house in order to reprogram the emotional body like that. Especially for unconditional love, which of course you have to give yourself first so that it can be reflected in your outer world.
So I think, Janine, you would call this doing the work of the psychic basement, which is basically also a lot of that happens in the 4th house, right? A lot of times that I see is in the 4th house.
That's true. And that, that shows us as a collective where we're cleaning house too, like to reconnect to all of our lineages through the mother archetype. It's like, wow, things start to make sense when you see like the bigger picture situation that's going on.
And then, I remembered the thing I was going to say about the Cancer also being that divine feminine aspect. And we were talking about like the protection of the masculine, allowing its femininity. You often see Cancer in relationships. Cancers thrive in relationships. A Cancer is probably most likely to be married almost than any other sign.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And for the person in the chat that had mentioned the 7th house Cancer, like embodying that caring archetype in interpersonal relationships, that would be kind of how that would show up in your life. And if there's codependency issues, it would really show up, so you could make adjustments.
It would definitely be a dance on learning how to not overly mother your partner.
Yeah.
Or any sort of mirrored relationship. It doesn't have seventh house. I don't feel like has to be specifically romantic partners. It can just be people in your life that you work in a one-on-one capacity with. It can also be partners, but
yeah, it tends to be often partnership, like a marriage partner, but it's any kind of a contractual relationship or committed relationship. So it can be friendships, business partners, anyone who you're in like a close, kind of like a committed kind of relationship with. It's not like just friends in the 5th house or acquaintances in the 11th house.
Yeah, I would see marriage more from the 8th house, but it could be,
marriage
is
like
engaged.
7th, 8th.
Yeah, it's like on the
I
cusp.
see
So
marriage is the 7th, and what you do with your marriage as the 8th, because the 8th is like the sexuality and the intimacy of that.
Yes. I take 8th house as sex and also combined assets.
It definitely
that's true. It's other people's stuff.
Yeah. 7th
Yeah.
house is the legality of being in union, or I see 4th house as domestic partnerships, like living with someone, creating a home with someone, nesting with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to say, someone had asked in the chat if we're talking about sidereal astrology, and no, we are talking about true sky astrology, so using the true sky.
Like using a sky app to look at the sky. So,
another way you could look at it is astronomical. We're looking at it astronomically.
The real astrology.
Yeah. And just to pop back quickly onto 8th house stuff, I see it as union and dissolution of union. And that's why I usually consider it the house of marriage. Also what you do with the marriage, but I usually reserve 7th house thing. That's just me personally. I keep 7th house to interpersonal relationships, dating, and business partnerships, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I take 7th house because it handles legal matters and one-on-one relationships. That would include any sort of legal partnership. So like a business partner, a marriage or divorce, or an NDA, even any kind of legal entanglement.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm not much on the legal realm, so I keep it the other way around. I'm just like,
that's
just words on paper. Don't mean nothing.
Oh, we got some Libra coding to do, Janine.
The true union comes from
it'll come online.
The union of the two bodies, period. It has nothing to do with paper. That's my big picture of you.
I will say that when I got married, and I was with the person before we got married, putting that thing down on paper shifted the dynamic.
Oh, sure, because that kind of stuff is an egregore, it's an agreement, it's a contract.
That's the 7th.
But it's literally a 4th dimensional soul contract.
That's it. And I kind of am like,
I mean, they're real.
I just look at it differently.
Don't like it. There's still, like, I have seen a lot of people get married during 7th house transits, like legal stuff happening in 7th house.
I understand, but it's also because that's an egregore. Like, nobody in this world functions without a contract, but it doesn't mean that it can't. It just means that's how we do it right now.
Yeah, you can get married in the eyes of the divine.
Yeah.
Regardless of any legal thing.
When I was young, I was like, I will never get married because that agreement, the church has no business in saying if I love someone, and the state has no business in saying if I love someone, I want to spend the rest of my life with them. So it's like that's why you're like, but you're a
church
Libra,
for sure.
But
No,
I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that aspect of
marriage. Can help
protect
aspects,
assets for sure, and it has a lot of amazing tax stuff. So
but that's still all social
but that's all
constructs.
It really
social constructs.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're still real, but it depends on if you make them real, take advantage of the state. Then obviously going through the state is the only way to do it.
And the way I look at it, just so everybody that's listening is clear on my point of view, I don't play in that puddle. I'm like, that's small-minded. I don't play, and I'm not referring to you guys. I'm just saying the place where humanity is, they're using that at this point. And I don't want to play in that pool. Like, I don't want to play in legal shenanigans because I feel like there's a more aligned way to do it.
Yeah.
And when two bodies come together, that's an agreement between those two people. And that's the only agreement there needs to be. That's just how I see it.
Although I would say, even if you're not married, you don't have to be married. If you're in a relationship with someone, you have unspoken contracts that start to be between two people. Oh, you fill up the gas tank and I make the eggs in the morning. Like, there's little unspoken contracts that do appear. So I think that we can take it outside of the state and still kind of see how it can fit within that. But for sure, the 8th house is where you're going to consummate the marriage. I mean, that's where it's going to become real.
I would look at those more as agreements. Like,
Those
it's
feel
just the
very,
dance.
like,
It's just the dance you
Virgo-y
do
to me, of
Yeah.
like
I
how
would
you
call it the
serve.
agreement too, but I was using contract just to try to help cross over from.
Trust me, I've been trying to undo so many soul contracts. So that's also, an echo in my life why I really resist the system that's set up at this point. It's like, nope, I've seen enough of my own soul contracts that it's just like, I don't need any more. Thank you very much. There's a better way to do this. And I'll figure that out. So that's just my difference in view on 8th and 7th house. But thanks to the person who brought that up, because that was a really great question.
And that brings up something that we wanted to touch on that we were speaking to earlier. The three of us have overlapping ideas of things, but we certainly, as demonstrated, don't all just agree on everything, which is a part of the beauty of this, is that, like, we're going to discuss things in a broad scope. We're not always going to agree. Astrology is so huge, and it's something we experience in our bodies. So it's going to be different for me, different for Janine, and different for Sachi. And that, like I was saying, is part of the beauty of this.
Absolutely. We did not set out on this venture together as the True Sky crew to be an echo chamber.
That's so
we
true.
do try to find uniformity when it comes to, basic information, but we all have our own way of even doing True Sky astrology, of how we calculate boundaries, of housing systems. So, if you get a reading from each of us, it will be very different. And even your chart will look a little bit different. So that's just something to notice. And, tying that into the Instagram group chat, that, when it is a matter of personal preference, we tend to state that. And when if we don't know something, we'll also, be fine saying that we don't know. But yeah, don't expect any sort of constant echo chamber from us, even though we are a united front, of course. But
I feel like we have more that brings us together, and everything else is just enriches our point of view on things, and being able to have discussions about it, I think, is amazing, because we can just bounce ideas off each other, and, like, we take what resonates, and that's true for everybody, especially in the group chat. Take what resonates, do your own homework, build your own understanding of what you're looking at.
And when you disagree on things that are a matter of personal preference, there's no reason to take it personally. Astrology is so large that it can encompass multiple points of view.
Definitely.
And that's great about it. And, when you have something of personal preference, and, like, for example, when the three of us disagree about something, it pushes us to look deeper into it rather than, shut down each other's ideas or perspective of how something is calculated or anything. We're pushed deeper into learning more and researching more. And that's really the healthiest way to, model differences. And so that's what we hope to do for y'all.
Yeah.
We have a really good, this is going to be interesting to explore this archetype for a minute. King Adjust in the group chat, or the chats on here, asks, his Venus, I think this is a him because it's King, Venus in Cancer in the 12th house. What do y'all think?
So for me,
Is this a good house for
and
this placement?
the 13th house for me, because I use 13 houses.
That's going to bring up some of
he-
what we were just talking about.
Yeah. And he mentioned that earlier that it was conjunct his ascension point, I believe.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, any placement is a good placement if you know how to work with it. That's the way that I approach
Yeah.
all charts. It's just like, how do you work with Venus to embody and exhibit and attract the best Venusian energy that you can? But I would say Venus in the last house is in Cancer, or Cancerian energy is great. Venus in Cancerian energy is so homey. It loves to feel at home. It loves to feel emotionally connected. Since it's in the 12th, 13th house, like probably a lot of past life lovers coming around, in this lifetime. But Venus, as for astrological code hacking, is the placement that you work with to access the vibration of love, unconditional love, which is not just romantic partners and friends. It's also, the colors that you love, patterns, what you love to do. So just being in the vibration of love, loving everything and everyone around you. So if it's in Cancerian energy, you, again, like we've discussed before, you really want to make sure you know who you're emotionally umbilical to. Because if one of these or multiple of those emotional umbilicals are not holding that vibration of unconditional love, that thing's got to be cut. And something that I recommend for a lot of Cancerian placements in general is putting salt in your belly button like once a month to just break all umbilicals that are draining you. But additionally, again, like reprogramming what feels like home to you. There's definitely some mama stuff going on there as well, especially in the 12th and 13th house, very psychic as well, very intuitive.
It feels very cosmic mother and very magnetic. Like they're probably, if it's very attuned, it would feel, you'd probably be able to like connect with the void really easily, bring through that mother archetype, probably very clairsentient, I would say. Like you might be able to feel a lot of stuff in your body with that kind of placement.
I have this placement.
Oh,
I wanted to let y'all talk
Yeah,
first.
definitely interdimensional.
We're gonna let the expert on the floor.
So I have Venus on my rising sign, and it's just on the other side by 0.13 of a degree into the last house. And so for me, I really see Venus as she was born of the sea. And so she feels so at home in Cancer. There's such a sensuality. Like you feel everything so deeply and so I want to keep it with sensual. And there's a Piscean energy that comes through this. So it becomes a very like ultra compassionate, like you can feel everyone's deepest pain and just love them for it completely with this position. That's my experience of it.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of feminine energy, like Venus, Cancer, 12th house. That's a lot of water. Not that Venus is water, but Cancer in 12th house is kind of Piscean, so that's some serious water.
Venus is kind of water too, because it can roll over like fluids in the body. And it also, I mean, in the mythology of Venus, Venus was born of the sea, of the fluid of Uranus's cut off ball sack.
A lot of imagery of Venus in the half shell, in the clam shell. Yeah.
So I love that Venus came up in this Cancer conversation, because I do feel that Cancer has more of a connection with Venus than she's also given credit for.
I feel that connection, Venus and Uranus too. It's funny that the mythology, that's the myth. I had no idea that was the mythology
How
But I
interesting.
can tell you, it's like Uranus is like Mercury and Venus put together, and those two symbols are very similar. The only difference is Mercury has his antennas on and Venus doesn't. So when those two get together and you integrate those, it's like your Uranus stuff is banging.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No, I think that you both spoke to it really well. I liked what you both said. I would agree.
Yeah, so I feel like you were saying, Sashi, any house is a good house to have anything. It's a matter, like, you just think of the planets and the placement. It's like spherical tuning forks, and you're making attunements in those areas of the chart. You're learning how to work with those energies. So none of them are inherently good or bad. It's what you choose to do with them, how you choose to engage with them. They all have superpowers.
And we all have every sign. And, you know, sometimes those houses that don't have a planet, sometimes I actually feel them more clearly, like within my own chart, because there's not a planetary energy that it's intermingling with. So I just get the pure essence of the sign.
There's no attunement needed.
Exactly.
You're right. It does come through very clear. I feel like where the planets are, it's like, this needs attunement.
We're solarizing it. We're mercurializing it. We're, you know, I don't think that's a word.
Yeah, like if you think of it like a tuning fork resonance radiating in a spherical pattern, it's like you're engaging with the harmonics and making attunements back. It's like as above, so below, right? It attunes you, you attune it. Isn't that one of the laws of Newton's laws of something something?
You attune it.
A thing will affect something with equal and opposite force, something like that. Like the planet has a huge oomph of a force, but we also have an oomph back on the planet. That's a very non-sciencey way to put it, but we affect the planet equally and oppositely in our own perfect capacity. So yes, we do recodes on the planets as well.
So
where do we want to go? We do have another listener question that sent it through the True Sky Crew DMs. Do we want to address that question as well?
Sure, the one that you had sent me earlier.
Yeah,
that seems like a good time to do so.
You want me just to read? Oh, okay. I was like, I can just read it if you want.
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
So we have, hi, I don't know if I can catch the live tonight. Curious about midheaven in Cancer, and off-topic question, thoughts, feelings on human design compared to astrology. So I think we probably each can talk about midheaven in Cancer, since we all view midheaven a little bit different. For me, midheaven is the manifestation gate. So it's a gate that you want to keep open in order for your manifestations to come to fruition. So with a midheaven in Cancerian energy, it would be that you need to be in your, like, I don't want to say, okay, it's like embody the divine feminine polarity. The more you are in this soft receiving essence, the easier it's going to be to manifest. So for example, if you're trying to manifest or materialize something into your life, it's not really anything you have to do. You just have to be open to receive it. There's also a lot about creating and mothering things into existence. So that can be another way to keep that manifestation gate, whether you're mothering a project or a business or an actual child. And something else I've seen in midheaven when it's in Cancerian energy is that people's children, like the child of someone who has midheaven in Cancer, those children will take care of you later. And so they end up being that manifestation gate for you. And obviously there's lots more, but we don't need to. Yeah.
No, that was beautifully said. I love that you called it the manifestation gate. That's exactly, that's key.
Yeah, I feel like the midheaven is like the thing that you just are. It's not anything you have to do. It's like an innate natural thing that you are. So I would say with Cancer parked there, it's like you're innately in that mothering energy. When you're doing it at 100% like high octave capacity, like you really are a master manifester, period. Like you can birth things into this reality that will knock people's socks off. So it's an interesting place for Cancer to be, for sure. Probably really working with the mother archetype, probably working with Mother Arc in a galactic sense. And that's a very powerful thing to be landing on the planet, just saying.
Depending on the house that it's into, like you would be a natural counselor, and that would be probably something that you could
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it
channel
would
that
depend on if it
energy
was
through.
like 9th house, 10th house, as to some nuances with that, for sure. 9th house would be more like wisdom, motherly wisdom. 10th house would be like, it's your purpose to manifest stuff on this planet.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
I feel like, you know, we're orbs, and our rising sign, descendant, icy, and midheaven are kind of the orb. So the top of the chart that has the most light, the midheaven, is also going to be kind of the thing I feel like that people see. I feel like people see my midheaven more than they see my rising sign. I feel like my rising sign can sometimes hold like some of who I am, and then the top of my chart is like how my energy almost projects.
I would agree with that.
Can I ask what your midheaven is?
Pisces.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely
I would
see
agree
that.
with that.
Yeah.
I think the ascension point is what you're learning how to step into full motherfucking power. But the MC is, you just are that thing inherently. Like you're already good at that. You're already doing it.
It's like how you emanate your energy. Like
Mine's Pisces too. I would agree with that.
Yep.
What's yours, Janine? Are you Pisces too?
No, Leo.
Oh, okay,
Leo.
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. But I would say that I think that that's a nice little snippet for midheaven and Cancer tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely place to have Cancer at the midheaven. That's a real power placement in a very gentle way. It's so powerful.
Divine feminine leadership.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yes. For sure. So thank you for that question. We made sure we kept your stuff anonymous. So just so you know, that's the way we roll. We'll keep it anonymous on here. Unless you're in the group chat and then everybody can see you, and that's okay too.
That's okay too.
So should we talk a little bit about the true sky transiting, like watching this in the software,
do we
how
want
the
to
sun moves through this, or
briefly touch upon the, you know, human design compared to astrology?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay. I think maybe we can each share our thoughts on this. I am not super knowledgeable on human design, so I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there. But from what I have gathered from all of my interactions to it, it is exactly how it's named. It is a human design, whereas True Sky Astrology is a divine celestial imprint. So all of human design uses astrological code and then creates its own algorithm, or uses another algorithm based on astrological data to create a flow map, I guess I'd call it. And most of human design is based on tropical astrology. So red flag there, I would just stay away from that false sense of self imprinting. There are true sidereal human design, which maybe we can link that in the...
Yeah, we can put that in the description when we post this.
Yeah, and maybe, do you remember what the name of it is?
CosmicHumanDesign.com.
Yeah, Cosmic Human Design. So for any of you who are human design enthusiasts, but also have trouble grappling with that because you are a true skyer, you know, that's a good place to start. But again, it is true sidereal, not true sky. And if you're wondering what the difference is, go rewatch episode number 1. But yeah, so in general, I would say stay away from human design because it uses tropical astrology. But just be careful of any sort of man-made algorithm and the information that is trying to imprint into your body. So, you know, I would always recommend if you're getting into something that is, you know, humanly designed, to look into who created it, look at their background, look at the type of person that they are, and whether you want to accept a code from them.
I would agree with that for sure. Not to be, you know, scared of it, but just be aware that most human design is tropical astrology based, and you just have to have discernment and be like, okay, what are they? The cosmic human design is the only chart calculator I know of personally that uses true sidereal, which is close to true sky. It's not exactly the same, but it's close. It uses the midpoint system to generate the cusps. It's close. So I can say for me personally, my True Sky HD chart was way more accurate than my tropical. I did not resonate at all with my tropical HD chart, but I'm also not that into HD because I have the real sky and that's all I need.
I would say my experience is similar. I can't say anything about it. I have really nothing to say. I haven't felt a resonance to dive in. The person who I do like who talks about it though is Quirky Cosmo on Instagram. She uses the sidereal chart for it. So the things that she has said has been the only human design that has held my attention.
Yeah, and I think the guy who originated human design channeled most of the info, and it's like that's red flag number 1 for me right there. It's like, you really have to use a lot of discernment and know who are they talking to exactly.
Yeah.
I personally don't want to look at the computer to get my information. I'm going to go outside and see Venus in Cancer shining down on me and feel and be with. So that's also why astrology is far more interesting for me.
100% right on the money. Just go look out at the stars.
Totally agree. And channel from that planet yourself, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Connect with our celestial siblings above us and see what they have to say to you. That is the best thing that you can do. To know that it's, you know, quote unquote true.
We have one more. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, make your own connection.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. And that's what it's really all about. Go out and meditate under the stars, take a nap under the stars, go sit in the sun, like absorb all those codes. They will talk to you once you get to a certain level of integration. You'll be astral traveling. You'll be in different star systems. Like, it's pretty amazing. So we do have one more question in the live chat. How do you feel about cusps I see in sky apps, Leo, Venus, and Cancer's claws?
Maybe this is a good time to pull up the Sky app and we can just talk about, you know, the void space cuspy energy.
Because cusps in a chart are different, slightly different than fixed star stuff. So that's a good time.
All right. All right, let's pull up. So let's see, we'll go to 2023. Let's see. Okay. We have Sun leaving Gemini and moving into the void space between Gemini and Cancer. And the sun is in the Gemini Cancer void for approximately 8 days. And on the 24th, that is when the sun is in alignment with which is the way that Janine calculates the entrance into the constellation Cancer.
The asterisms may look different on the app that I'm using. Well, it's a different asterism system. I think it's the HA ray system is the one that I was using for that. Let me check.
So do we want to talk a little bit about the, energy of Gemini Cancer cusp?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Go
So what was go ahead.
So, well, the question was about the Leo Cancer cusp, but since on our agenda we have going from the Gemini Cancer void to the Leo, Cancer Leo, I figured we would just
We'll start at the beginning.
Yeah.
The question
We'll
was,
start,
what do we think about it? What do we think about it?
Yes, what do we think about
Okay.
it? How do we feel about it? That's perfect because Cancerian's mantra is I feel. So yes, how do we feel? Well, Gemini Cancer void for me is that crossover of the calm nervous system and the emotional body. So basically how the programs running in the brain relate to the emotional experiences and vice versa. So it's really a cross-sectional of the electrical and emotional body and how they are correlated. So that's how I use this space in astrological chart hacking. How I feel about this space in particular, very intuitive and brainy at the same time. Like they just sort of know things because they feel things. So it kind of gets into that clairsentience that Janine was talking about. For me, that definitely happens in this space.
It could be both claircognizance and
and
clairsentience in the space. Yeah.
Too, as well.
Yeah.
I feel like with cusp spaces too, it's like if you look at each sign like a color or a note, then it's going to be, let's work with color. Then it's going to be like, okay, there's the yellow of Gemini and the green of Cancer. And so it's a space that's going to be yellow-green and in a gradation as you move through it. So kind of just depending on where it is, there is areas that it's not like for me a clean line. Like, oh, you got to the edge. Now it's definitely all Cancer energy. I feel like there's a gradation in the cusp spaces, in the void spaces. And then those spaces, those colors, those tones become clear when you hit the first star.
I would agree with that. And I think when the sun or any planet is moving through the void space, it also depends on fixed stars it's aligned with as to what note you're hitting or what color it's overtone coloring it. Because their Procyon technically aligns through the void space, and that is a very big star in Canis Minor. So those alignments will also color the experience of having that placement.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Got some doggy energy in there. Dog codes, loyalty codes.
And then there's some little sneaky links codes up above.
That's true. Yeah. We've actually talked extensively about links. When the three of us were doing True Sky Crew stuff, just the three on our own, before we were like, you know what, we should record this and, give the people what they want.
Yeah. It's like Lynx and Ursa Major blended energy above Cancer and Canis Minor and Monoceros energy in the void on the other side, or through Cancer and through the Gemini Cancer void. So those Monoceros codes are super timeliney jumper people, like people that are planetary timeline guides. So if you have specific alignments with Monoceros stars, which aren't very bright stars, but they are uber powerful.
Yeah,
That will definitely
unicorn.
make a difference versus on the other side of Cancer in the Cancer Leo void, which is more Hydra and Ursa Major.
Yeah.
So fun differences.
Mm-hmm.
Differences. So yeah, get your sky app out and look at, you know, do the time travel feature, put your birthday in on the sky app and look and see if the planet, whatever one you want to look at, is actually inside the asterisms of the constellation, or if it's floating between two constellations, and look up from the ecliptic and down from the ecliptic in a parallel or perpendicular line to see if it crosses through any fixed stars that you can noticeably see, because that will definitely give you some insight into that for sure.
And sometimes the planets, you know, not the sun, obviously, but the planets will be in constellations outside of the zodiac. So you can see, you know, Venus in Scutum or Mercury in Hydra. So, you know, on calculators, it'll show you, you know, Mercury in Cancer, Mercury in Leo. But if you look at the sky when you were born, you know, the sky's going to tell you the true story. So always reference the sky app, even if you're using a calculator. Cross-reference both.
Yes, I think the signs that ride the ecliptic still will hold a certain presence, but to have a difference of that planet being actually in a different constellation, or you know, emanating through that, that's potent. That's going to shift the entire octave of how that works for you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yep.
So the sun actually transits Cancer for only 12 days from the first fixed star to the last fixed star in the asterisms. That's not a huge amount of time. So people that are born that are true Cancer suns are probably less than what most people think there are.
Absolutely. They're pretty rare.
And we have a very powerful nebula in Cancer, the Beehive Nebula, which is one of my favorites. And I feel like that really is a testament to the power of this sign.
That's this right here. For sure. Especially because bees are a matriarchal species. So for anyone who doesn't know, you know, I'm sure everyone's heard queen bee before, but there's one queen, and then they have the worker bees, which are all female, and then they have the drones, which are males. So the drones only live 1 year because all of the worker bees, the female bees, will stop the male bees from coming into the hive once at the end of autumn, beginning of winter. So all the male species die off, only to birth a whole new set of drones the next year. So obviously that's a very extreme aspect of a matriarchal species, but it is one that is notably female. Although I have quite a few beekeeper friends, and they have been noticing that certain colonies are actually letting the drones stay. And it's probably because of colony collapse. So I think in general, it's probably a good sign of, you know, integration of feminine and masculine energy, working together rather than, you know, obviously we live in a time where, you know, distorted masculine energy has sort of run the show. But then for distorted feminine energy to utilize masculine energy like that, basically as like birth slaves, is sort of the
interesting adaptation.
For
sure.
Yeah, I was very surprised to hear that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm like curious to look into that more now. So this is where my rising sign is. And when I first learned about it from Janine, I really spent some time deep diving and feeling in. And, you know, it was like feeling in, like I would close my eyes and like feel like a summer day with the bees just buzzing all around. And I started to feel into that. And I started to consider like the geometric shape of the honeycomb. And when our planet was invaded, it was known that manipulation of geometric sound waves would destroy natural like sound body templates and damage the DNA. And so I started to see this as an area that was part of the distortion of what occurred through Cancer, was like through distorting sound fields. So part of the remedy of that, and I think a part of the essence of this, is buzz like a bee, make noise, make your sacred sound, and start to come into your own kind of heart consciousness coherence through the making of your own sacred sound.
And I can say from
That's
that's
beautiful.
very true. And I can also say from experience from working with tuning forks, go stick the end of your tuning fork in your bath water. Holy moly.
Wow.
Like it resonates through
Cool.
all that water, through all your body, your blood, your lymph, your blood plasma. Like, talk
Wow.
about doing some recalibrating. So I do feel that
That's
too,
a
like
great
the
idea.
recalibration of the sound fields through this. And
Mhm.
interestingly, a lot of royalty uses the bee as a symbol in heraldry
Mhm.
because they know the power of that portal, the hexagonal portal. You know, there's a hexagon at the North Pole of Saturn. They know it's a manifestation thing. And really, it's a two-dimensional geometry that is actually a hypergeometry. It's actually like an XYZ axis. So it's talking about time space coordinates. There is so much depth in this archetype of Cancer when you really start getting into some of the symbolism.
Mhm.
So
Right.
those
And so then
sound
it's
fields,
also, right?
yeah.
It's also called the manger. And so I think we've touched on this before. It's just like, oh, of course, the milk and honey.
Yep.
It's like right there.
I had honey in a dream last night, Georgia. Oh
I
my
just-
gosh. Real time aha
interesting.
moment.
Yeah, milk and
Nice.
honey just came up for me and Zuby yesterday. So we got a download about milk and honey. So it's very interesting that you say that.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Real time
Nice.
synchros, folks. It happens all the time.
Yes, they do. Yeah, I love
It
the
was-
sound aspect of that too.
Yeah.
That's so interesting because when we talked about Taurus, basically being like a giant tuning fork, and even like the whale codes of Cetus and the sound codes there, and how Gemini is basically, you know, masculine, feminine integration, and then Cancer is like the hive mind of like sound resonance of how it's like everyone humming the same hertz, I would say. That's so interesting. Yeah, and the healing aspect of it. Have you guys seen the like bee sanctuary like healing things that they have
Yeah.
like these rooms that you can stay in basically, and the walls are made out of honeycomb. So the bees can't access inside, but they are inside the walls, and you go in there and sit for hours or you stay for days, and people have been saying that they are miraculously healed from this and that, and their cancer cells have shrunk, and just absolutely incredible healing modality. I also follow a couple bee priestesses and have seen that people have gone to their temples who have chronic pain, and they get stung on purpose in certain areas to have that chronic pain completely dissolved. So it's
I've
very
heard that as a form of
interesting.
therapy works for
Mhm.
some people, but you know, check with your doctor, folks.
Right. I've also heard that the same bee sting medicine, of course, we're sharing what we read, is effective for breast cancer.
Hmm.
Which is
Yes, yeah.
super interesting with
That
all
makes
these
so
things
much
Cancer,
sense.
right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they're even it's been used for years. That started in 2014, I believe. And it's not being widespread, but it's been shown to completely eradicate breast cancer cells. It's interesting because when my grandma was diagnosed with breast cancer, You know, I'm sending her these articles about it and talking about it with the doctors at the appointments, and they were all like, I don't know anything about this, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, these are peer-reviewed articles. You're an oncologist, you probably should know.
Go read some stuff.
Right.
I bet those bee sanctuary places are probably like warm and they smell like golden honey. I bet that would be
Oh.
amazing to take a nap in there.
Mhm.
I now it's like a mission. I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah,
I'm
now I want to
definitely
go
going
find one.
there.
Maybe we should do a
God,
True Sky retreat
Yo, we
at
totally should
at Bee
stargazing
Temple.
and
Yeah.
honeybees. Ooh,
When the
for like
sun
some
is at the
kind of
Beehive
cancer.
Nebula.
Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
yeah, that would be
Oh.
amazing.
Oh, I
Okay.
feel it coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, I feel like maybe in 2024 we'll probably definitely organize at least one group trip somewhere. So that one's definitely going on the list, and we'll keep you guys posted.
All right.
Yeah.
Good times.
Do we want to talk about the
Other
void?
side of Cancer? Yes. So after Sun transits Cancer for about 12 days, it exits at Alpha Star Acubens, so Alpha Cancer, and cruises through the Cancer Leo void for about 4 to 5 days, somewhere in between. So not a huge long transit in between these two, but there is a few days of void space. And like we were saying before, there's more Hydra influence in this void, and there's still Ursa Major influence above with the fixed star alignments. So there are some really powerful fixed stars in Hydra. I think it's Ashlesha in the head is one of the alignments.
Yeah.
Through Cancer while the sun's in Cancer. But there's also, I think Hydrobius is that brighter one just outside the Cancer, the last alignment with the Cancer fixed star.
Awesome.
Yeah, that one's technically in the void just by a hair. So it's kind of cuspy there. Yeah, I think that's
Definitely
Hydrobius.
cuspy. Yeah.
And then there's another smaller Hydra star down there in his neck a little bit. But yeah, some powerful serpent codes coming through in that void space. Like serpent and bear energy coming through in that void space between Cancer and Leo. So very powerful stuff. And there's
And
Leo
baby
minor
Leo.
up there. Yeah, baby Leo
Yeah.
too. It's like
So
the
definitely a
birthing.
lot
Yeah,
of-
the birthing has happened. The baby's here. Yeah.
And, you know, through Kundalini utilization and control.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, with Hydra there's definitely a lot of snake codes, obviously. What I have found about this void space is because of Cancer or Cancerian energy ruling the emotional body and Leo ruling the solar self, the sense of self, the ego and identity. There's a lot of things, just like a Hydra, that if you try to solve the problem or cut the head off, if more heads sprout, that there's codes there of like recoding how you solve a problem. So it's like if something seems like a problem and it becomes more and more of a problem no matter what you do, then it's like that's not truly you. That's not truly your solar self. So there's something like in the emotional body that is distorted or stuck to where it just keeps multiplying in a negative way, rather than creating, like Leo minor energy would be, or even Ursa Major, which is a lot of mother codes as well. So I always take this void space as like reassessing chronic problems and how those are identified with the false sense of self through emotions.
I find this space so creative. Like so much creation code, like the mother, the father, the baby, the Kundalini. It's just, for me, it just pops with so much creativity. And I find during this time, also, there's a lot of sex codes going through this void.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the bear codes are really lean towards like protector shield type energy, just in the inherent nature. Like if you have, it's more specific if you have planets aligned with certain fixed stars, but bear codes are like planetary protector codes. Like when you activate your stuff, shields are on, right? You think about like the solar shielding around the planet that sort of dispels the solar flares. That's kind of how I see the bear codes. It's like boom. So that's a really interesting blend of like the Shakti, the Kundalini of Hydra, and then this, it's just powerful protector feminine energy that's like boom, activate. Stand in your power, right?
And I think there's some like reparenting that happens through this too, because it's the mama bear. We're dealing with like some pretty intense stuff that's going to go on in this like creational space, and then you have the mother and the father. So definitely there's going to be some reparenting that occurs through this void space.
Yeah, kind of as we're cruising through there before you step fully into those Leo attunements, which is truly step into your power, step into your sovereignty, right? So it's an interesting story that's weaved from many different layers, not just what the sun's passing through, but it's a full spectrum story. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, like Leo, I mean, that's consciousness. It's like the masculine aspect of the creational energy, where you know, Cancer is more sound, the sound fields, the essence, the magnetic side. Then Leo is that electric, yang, solar, light, bright. It's fun. We like the way Leo feels.
Yeah, I always take Leo as the inner child and Cancerian energy as the emotional imprinting of caregivers. So when it comes to like healing and integration, it's like healing the inner child through emotional, imprinting that your parents or caregivers gave to you. Usually the mother figure, but now mother figure and father figure can really be used interchangeably because there's not, relationship segregation anymore, really.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, and just looking at it as like just polarized aspects, I see both signs really hold a lot of that kind of parent child energy, because I also see a lot of daughter codes that move through Cancer, like through the lunar aspect of Cancer, and then the aspect of Leo that is father, but it's also son, because we also see it as the Christ.
I feel like it's Empress, Emperor type energy for sure.
Yeah, definitely that.
I can see how the daughter codes would play into Cancer though, because the situation with who's the true ruler of Cancer, Earth or the moon, that kind of thing. So I can see that too.
I see moon more as displaced daughter, and I see the lower aspect of Cancer acts more like daughter than mother. And that when we kind of come to an understanding, like when we come to an understanding of who moon is, maybe seeing her as displaced daughter more than wicked stepmother, we start to find like more
that's
compassion.
Why Snow White came up the other day. Boom. Another
me
synchro.
Nice.
Recoding that wicked stepmother archetype. Well, that's an aha moment and a half. I was like, why is Snow White?
Although I think that's Cinderella. Snow White has the wicked.
They all wicked witch.
This is a story, and a lot of the fairy tales is that the true mother, the true beautiful, lovely mother dies, and then an evil other mother shows up, and then there's the whole hero's journey that comes off of that.
Yeah, and
I feel like there's such
Charming.
such a
typical
bigger
Disney,
picture.
Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And
trying to manipulate the archetypes.
Yeah.
I feel like this area of the sky is the foot in the door for a lot of the bigger picture stuff going on in the solar system with the planet that was destroyed. So that's a whole other episode, but that I feel like is why Cancer tends to have the archetype, like this sort of challenging mother archetype that we recode through to find the true mother archetype, right? It has to do with the harmonics in the solar system are off kilter because there was a whole planet that is now the asteroid belt. And if you don't think that will mess up consciousness on a living planet, well, we're living it. So
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you can probably connect a lot of dots when that nugget drops in. It connected a lot of dots for me anyway. I was like, oh my gosh, so many things in astrology make sense now.
Yep.
And the mythologies and the metaphors and the archetypes, you know, even not in astrology, but in astronomy. I'm like, oh, and it's just like ding, 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 ding. So we'll have to do another episode at some point on that bigger picture scenario with like a specific episode on Maldek or something, and how it ties into probably how our ancient selves coded the sky to tell us that story. Yeah,
Definitely.
good times. Do we want to quickly zip through the fixed star chart so people can see where the lineups come in with the fixed stars? I have a few of them on a chart.
Let's do it. You want to pull up your software,
Yeah.
or you want me to do it in the sky?
Well, they'll be able to see when the sun aligns with it in the software.
Okay.
So,
Great.
and you know, maybe we'll give people an idea that, hey, you can look at this stuff. You can find this stuff in software. There's ways to do it. Okay, let me know when that comes up on your screen.
It is up.
Okay. So this is the area of Cancer. Now, keep in mind the software, this fixed star part is sidereal. It does not, for some reason, show the true sky, whereas the other regular chart does. But for the fixed stars, for some reason, it won't show it. But I can read this because I know which star is the first star of the constellation and which star is the last star. So Acubens is the last star as the sun's transiting. Tegman, according to the asterisms that I use, is the first star. And you can see this is the last star in Gemini. So this is actually the void space right here. And Talitha in Ursa Major technically falls within the constellation of Cancer. Zeta Monoceros, Hydra. And those are there's not a lot of really big stars. Procyon is over here in the void, as well as Lucida in Monoceros. Those are both in the void, so technically not in Cancer, but Procyon is a really, really big star. So that one's definitely worth making note of. So these are kind of the main ones. They're not very bright. The Monoceros stars aren't very bright. This Hydra star, Ashleisha, it's kind of bright. And Talitha, this star is not officially in the Dipper part of Ursa Major. It's more in the Bear. If you look at the whole constellation of Ursa Major, where it has the shape his back legs, it's kind of in the back legs, in the back. So those are just some of the interesting fixed stars. And then on the other side, you can see how short the void space is between the first star in Leo and the last star in Cancer. So there are ways to read these things in a 2D chart. You kind of have to have software that you can put specific fixed stars on there. But it does exist. So that's what we've got. So we've got the beehive in there. Let's see. Procyon would be the first one. Lucida in Monoceros, Talitha, Zeta Monoceros, Beehive Nebula, Ashleisha, and then there's some link stars in the mix. But I think the Alpha Link star, I can't remember if it comes into play before Cancer or after Cancer, but I know it doesn't come through. I think it's after. The Alpha Link star comes into play between Cancer and Leo. So, and that, I think that's a really powerful archetype. Georgia, you and I have kind of talked about lynx, and it's such an intriguing archetype.
It really is. And I mean, lynx in and of themselves are sly and secretive. And the constellation is very much that.
And sexy.
Yeah.
Usually
Exactly.
lynx is like, yeah, referred to as a very
Sexy lynx.
sexual lady.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of similar to like vixen. I like those energies kind of feel similar.
Yes.
When I was looking up the archetype, there was an article that noted that lynx originated from Scotland. I was like, really?
Huh.
So there's a Scottish connection. I'm like, oh, that just got way more interesting.
Right.
So I think there's many rabbit holes yet to be discovered with that.
Yeah. And
And
if
so
we consider the like spelling of it or the sounding of it, like of links and the link
lynx.
between, yeah, like Cancer or Cancerian energy and Leo energy. And it's like when they link with that Hydra Kundalini, what happens? Creation.
Well, I think
Yeah.
lynx is Gemini Cancer, right?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But there's still Kundalini codes in that. I
Mhm.
mean, going from
I think
The
it
whole-
ranges all the way across the top.
oh
It's-
yeah.
Let's see. I think it's just all kind of above Cancer
Yeah.
from one void to the other.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at it now. Yeah. It like basically
Yeah.
it ends in the middle of the void between Cancer and Leo.
Leo. Yeah, that's the Alpha Star
Yeah.
Alpha Shack.
Mhm.
I just call it Alpha Lynx because it is easier to say. But
Mhm.
Lynx really spans over the top of Gemini too.
Uh-huh.
Kind of
Yeah, and even
starting at
Taurus.
Taurus. Yeah.
So it's
So
like
it's-
it links Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and Leo together. There's a lot of links. It's
does.
like a chain.
Making the links.
So lynx is also considered a secret keeper. So I feel like tuning into lynx is also tuning into the things that are in the hidden realms.
Mm-hmm. There he is.
There it is. He's big.
Yeah.
He is. Yeah, his
The
little art, the constellation
Taurus
art doesn't do the constellation
at
justice.
all.
Mm-mm.
It almost
Quite a
looks like
large
another
one.
serpent almost.
It really
He is
does.
kind of serpentine.
It has the triangle head with a tongue and
Hmm.
Kinda does.
yeah, very similar to Hydra.
Makes a lot of
No,
sense.
Hydra has a second triangle. Yeah, very similar.
There's some more of those Kundalini codes coming through.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
really
that's-
right. Look at the tongue. If you looked at that as the tongue of the serpent, it's kind of almost right in between Leo and Cancer.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Anne in the
Mhm.
chats says lynx is one of her totem animals, and she's
Nice.
very connected to Scotland. Ho.
Well, there we go.
I would go research lynx constellation because I feel like there's nuggets in there for you. That's an amazing share. Thank you. We're in a synchro solar storm. Like we
Portal,
just
yeah.
had a X 2.8 flare, so you can't help but have synchronicity at this point.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So have fun with that rabbit hole, Anne. I think that's going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm. And someone in the Melody in the chat had also mentioned we were talking about Milk and Honey, how she just had a dream about her ex, whose honey was in the last name. So it's like, yep, you get a synchro, you get a synchro. I definitely feel that from the 1212 portal, this timeline jump. It's great.
Yeah.
It feels very good.
While we
It
were
really
working on the
does.
calendar,
I know.
she had
Yep.
a very significant time jumping synchro, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's on.
It was very interesting. Maybe do I have it on here? I could just show it real quick. Do I have it? Yes, I do. All right. So yeah, it was the 1212 portal which was also the new moon in Scorpius Ophiuchus, and I was saving a bunch of the files on my computer to compare them in a meeting that the three of us were going to have, and one of them let's see. One of them saved, I'm downloading all of them. As you can see, it's like 7:36, 7:35, 7:30. One of them saved as tomorrow. Tomorrow. It's saved as the next day. So one of them had a timeline jump.
12,
Oh,
and
it
4
says
and
key.
5 is 9. Woo! Completing the masculine energy. Whoa.
And it's a key.
And am.
I didn't realize that. It's a key.
Oh my gosh.
So very interesting.
Ping.
Yeah, I didn't notice that before.
PNG file. Ping.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a tall key. Bing.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
So that
funny.
was very interesting timeline jump.
I love it when you can read the matrix.
Exactly.
Love me some synchronicity. Good times. Well, is there anything else we want to share about Cancer as an archetype before we call it a night? I think we've answered all the questions.
I think we did.
I think we've covered it.
I do want to say one thing when we were talking about Cancer being a crybaby. One thing I do want to say is if you have Cancerian placements, you need to cry. Don't let anyone call you a crybaby. There's a difference between whining and crying about everything versus emotionally regulating through crying. And I mean, everyone should cry. It is a natural biological response to stress and overwhelm. It is absolutely necessary to regulate your emotional body. Not that you have to do it every day, but you need to make sure that you're crying every once in a while to get that out of your emotional body, or it can get stuck. For me personally, as someone who has like a Cancerian moon, like I will look for something to cry about daily. Just like a little snippet, like a super cute animal video. I'll just be like, oh my God, this is so adorable. And then I'll be good for the day. I just like need to be brought to that that
It's
beautiful high that brings me to tears, and then I'm good. I get my fix.
It's really to feel safe to emote. Like,
yes,
you feel, and that again, what house placement it's in is gonna make such a difference. Like if it's Cancer in the first house, is your mom and yourself, you're making sure you feel safe to emote, right? So I feel like that's a really strong placement for Cancer to be for those lessons, and in different houses it's different places, but definitely emotional regulation, feeling safe to emote, whatever it is, and doing it in a way that's appropriate, not that you're dumping it on someone else, but like you said, like you go to the thing and like feel into it. Literally, that's a superpower. So very very good advice. Like I have Cancer in the 9th house, so mine's a little hard to explain.
Yeah. It'll continue to expand.
It's very philosophical. Yeah.
It is. I'm like, study the emotions, perhaps, perchance.
Belief systems around emotions. I mean, that is what I do. Seriously.
Or when you study, there's things that might bring you to the brink of emotion because it's like so profound for you.
When things all click and gel and make sense, there is an emotional crescendo that is very hard. It's like I knew it all had to make sense, and that emotion is so big. It really is. It's like this all-encompassing kind of like,
That's awesome. Plus, there's probably some like grid work there for traveling and like experiencing the emotional energy of various places.
Yes. Traveling with the mother codes. I know I work very strongly with Mother Arc, and I know traveling will be part of that eventually for all the inner work I've done to just go to places and be like, codes for you, codes for you, codes for you. Have some Mother Arc codes. Let's turn all the Mother Arc portals on.
I relate with that, with Cancer being quite a bit in my 12th. Well, Cancer's so small, but quite a bit of half of it's in my 12th house. And the other half's in my first house. So that 12th house also has a similar travel vibe with the 9th house. Like they like the Jupiterian houses that like to travel.
Ooh, I can see yours would be very dimensional. Very interdimensional.
I do like to cry.
I do like to cry.
Same.
So funny.
over like, oh man, something beautiful. Sometimes music will make me cry. Sometimes I just need to cry. I'm like, I'm crying and emoting right now. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm crying. And I don't need to know. This feels so good.
Aw,
Mhm.
I love that. I have so much air in my chart.
Me
Yeah,
too,
that's not
but
my jam.
yeah, as a Cancerian moon, I can't really help but feel my feelings. And it's interesting you mentioned like Cancerian energy in the first house, because that's what I have. So that was very spot on.
That makes sense. That makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. Yeah.
I definitely wear my emotions on my sleeve. And like my best friend of I don't even know how many years now, um, he would always tell me like I am just consistently amazed by how willing you are to feel your feelings. Like even as shitty as they may be sometime. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I really don't know any other way. But
And how
Mhm.
you really
oh,
honor your intuition. Like our
mhm,
situation the other day, you're like, I got to go with my, and it's like, bravo. You
yeah.
know, like that is a superpower.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really is.
Because your body knows stuff, right? Your
Yes,
body
it
knows
does.
what's right for you. Your emotional
My
body knows
feelings,
what's right for you.
my feelings. They know.
That's right.
Emotional
So,
body is really powerful. It's soul indicators. Like the emotional body certainly gets demonized quite a lot. Like squelch your emotions, get your mind right, and everything's going to be okay. And it's like, no, that's not what the emotions are,
I
people.
know.
they're
And
like your best radar detector
they,
for
they
things.
are.
Yeah.
You know, I've always
It's your soul talking.
Yeah.
exactly. I've always said that, like, just about water signs in general. It's like, you know, earth signs, they get such a great reputation, just like in society, of like making money, working hard, being grounded. Fire signs are like, yes, can take action. They're passionate, you know, this and that. Air signs, intellectual, they can take in information, great conversationalists. But water signs, it's like, you know, society downplays the importance of emotions and even the existence of like psychic abilities. Like everything that water
Yeah.
stands for, society kind of like shits on. Um, and that was like a huge issue for me when I
That's your
thought I was a
first,
Scorpio.
yeah, that's the first clue that that's the key to the
Yeah.
superpowers.
Uh-huh.
Is if it's
Exactly.
demonized, go look there.
Exactly.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like the overall life purpose or experience that Cancer is here to understand is like love, trust, acceptance, compassion, take care of yourself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
learn how to nurture, that kind of thing. Whether it's, you know, the house that's in is like the focus is nurture yourself, or if it's seventh house, learn how to nurture with others, right? Be compassionate and caring with others, or wherever it happens to be.
Yeah. And
So
very much like where we're healing the mother wound.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's the key to getting into the astral realm, doing all that cool off the planet stuff, doing all the emotional healing. It's your key to all the ancestors. When you really get down to it, emotional clearing and healing is the thing that gives you the freedom to do all that dimensional off the planet stuff. You know, reconnecting to your higher self, your guides, all those things. So
It's a key.
it's the key. Yes, it's the pearl, the golden pearl, safely protected in the shell until you're ready to embody that thing.
Right, y'all.
Good deal.
All
Yeah.
right. We feel good about.
I feel good.
Same.
I feel great.
Awesome. Well, thank you to everyone who joined us on the live. Thank you to everyone who, you know, sent us questions during the live in the live chat, and for the member of the crew that sent a message for us to answer in our DMs. And thank you everyone who is watching on the replay. We really appreciate all of you. And we are the one and only The True Sky Crew. And we can be found on YouTube and Instagram at The True Sky Crew. I am Sachi. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or I guess it's X now, YouTube, And I think, yeah, at Sachi the Seer. You can also find me on my website, sachitheseer.com. That is also where you will find our amazing calendar and planner. We've worked so hard on this for you and are so excited to see you guys utilize this and love it as much as we do. Right now, my books are closed for general readings. I do have emergency readings open and one-on-one spiritual mentorship. And I also have my Astrology 101 classes, Astrology 201 classes, and Tarot 101 class on my website if you are interested in learning more about astrology or tarot for yourself.
Yes, awesome. And I'm Janine. You can find me at Inner Sky Alchemy on Instagram. And my books are currently closed for astrology sessions until February because we are working hard on this calendar. But I still have openings for dream alchemy sessions, biofield tuning sessions, any of the somatic, like emotion code sessions. There's still appointments available for that. So that's where I'm at with that. Go get the calendar. It's awesome. Thank you.
Nice. I'm Georgia. You can find me at Star Nectar Astrology or at here at the True Sky Crew YouTube. My offerings are currently closed, but stay tuned for many offerings soon to come. Maybe not super soon, but spring soon. And yep, get the calendar. You're going to love it as much as we do.
Yep. And
Yep,
our
yep.
next episode is all about January transits. So that will be in 2 weeks, 2 Thursdays from now, on December 28th. We will go through all the January transits. So even if you already have your calendar, you can follow along because we will go into details about what it means. And until the next episode, keep your feet on the ground and your eyes to the skies because the true sky don't lie.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.